We'll talk about that.
It's quite poor. Hello, welcome. This is Sinners Review podcast number 2. I'm Ian.
I'm Jason.
This is attempt 2 because I've just realised that I hadn't switched the microphone on. So, yeah, I'm a plank. Right, okay. So before we actually get on to what we've been doing this week and our main topic, we've got a bit of any other business. First of all, I mentioned in my rant about the Ivors that...
was it a rant? It was a rant.
I thought it was a rant.
It was an opinion.
An opinion. It's still a rant then, isn't it? Yeah. When is a rant an opinion? Well, forget it. So what I said was that I thought it was very modern music orientated. That's because I've just had an email from the Ivors, being a member of the Ivors, that there is the classical Ivors, which are now open until 4th of July. So you can, if you're a small classical group, you can apply for an award which costs you 40 quid plus VAT. And I have to say I'm not that keen on the fact that they are charging for you to be put forward for an award, and that goes for any organisation, not just the Ivors. You feel differently.
Yeah, I guess 40 quid isn't a great deal.
It's not a lot of money.
You want to get some exposure.
It's not about the money for me. I don't think really. I just think if you're going to say that you've been put forward for an award, then you put forward to an award, and that's the positive, not the fact that I paid 40 quid and I'm put forward for an award. Yeah.
I guess the other side is, they've got sponsors. I think the main event was sponsored by Amazon, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
So they've got sponsors, but it does need funding. They've got to pay employees. They've got to pay a venue. Yeah. They've got to generate income. That sort of stuff doesn't get, the Arts Council grants that it probably once used to get, or National Lottery money that it used to get in the past. So I think that's maybe just the economic environment. It
just feels that. And later on I will get on to the fact the sponsorship of the South by Southwest, which starts on Monday. I'll come back to that. I just think they should probably, if you're gonna, you shouldn't be charging the people that are up for awards. So we've got cars going outside, so I'll close that window, I think.
Yeah, go on.
It's a bit noisy. Talk among yourself for a minute.
Well, I think that whole kind of pay to play, we touched on it in the first episode.
We did.
About the EMOM Festival. It was £3 for
it was.
And I think that differs by EMOM. We've been to one where they passed the hat around and everybody there made a contribution.
Yeah.
So I was at the Bournemouth one at the end of a couple of weeks ago, and they had a little bucket at the bar, and donations welcome.
I missed that. Actually, I missed the bucket.
Well, they didn't do the one we went to.
Oh, right,
okay. I went to in May. Right. They had a little bucket at the bar. So I think it's different, and it depends on whether you've got to pay for the venue, whether you've had to hire a PA. I suppose it's pretty much horses for courses.
We did have some feedback on that. I mean,
on the EMOM Festival.
Bill liked what we did on the podcast. He's an EMOM in the Reading area, I think he said. Disagreed with us about the pay to play element of it. I think, as you say, it's the EMOM Festival was a thing for charity. It was £3, fair enough, and they weren't stringently making that happen. So I suspect if you couldn't afford the £3 for whatever reason, then
they were pretty relaxed.
They were very relaxed about it. You just didn't pay it. And I think some venues, and the one that comes to mind is whenever they do the Sonic State EMOM. Now I do know that the venue in Bath, they charge Nick for that. So, and that happens up and down the country sometimes really. So you're gonna there is a cover charge because they shouldn't be out of pocket by having to because of the venue. The York one, they don't charge for the venue, but the sound engineer is paid.
I suppose he's got to make a living.
So that goes to the sound engineer, which is fine. And yeah, it's the one in York. If you can't pay it, Simon would never, hassle you about it. You can put a quid in. You can put, they say it'd be nice if it was a £5, and I've always tended to put a £5 in. But I mean, EMOMs generally, it is better if it's voluntary. I don't think I've ever been to an EMOM where somebody's made me pay, unless it's the one where there's a cover charge, So the ethos of an EMOM is that it's it's
free.
And
by definition, it's underground. It's a growing movement. Not all of them have got all of the footfall that means the venue can take the returns on the beer sales, the drink sales and stuff. So it's we'll see how it develops.
And then maybe Bill got the wrong end of the stick. We weren't saying that EMOMs should be paid. We're just saying that some of them, And on a wider note, while we're talking about pay to play, forever I have been vehemently against pay to play gigs, proper gigs, where you turn up and you are. I mean, you're going to be paying to actually be on the bill, and I've always turned down gigs like that. Right. There's a slightly variation where, I've done gigs where the headliner's got 300-400 quid, and we've got £1 on the door, and we've brought the audience in bands, which has always been a bit. And then they swap you. The headliner goes on before you, so the audience stays. I've had that happen as well, but that's all in the past. Anyway, so I don't think there was any other business. I think that was it.
You'll go back to Bill.
Yeah, I've just.
But you will.
Oh no, I won't.
Well, I think acknowledge it.
Well, I mentioned it. I mean, the reason I mentioned it on camera, so I didn't have to go back to Bill. But
maybe
thanks for watching, Bill.
And we'll maybe catch him at Reading EMOM.
Yeah. If you're going to go,
I might go.
Yeah. So look out for Bill. I've got. So what have you been doing this week?
Not a very creative week for me, really. Just some changes looming. So, no gigs, either playing myself or going to. We were going to go together to the one on Wednesday, but I couldn't. Half term as well, so that's a bit of a distraction with 2 kids.
I forget it's half term.
Two school age kids becomes just messes with the schedule. No, it's the only thing I would say that I could put in our bracket of music and arts, other than I've been playing and writing stuff obviously at home in the studio. Yeah. But the thing I made a point of doing was catching back up on the first 2 episodes of this series of Jules later.
Do you know,
I
keep forgetting to watch Jules Holland. I mean, there was a time I used to watch it.
It's on every Friday. Yeah. It's a Friday on BBC 2, I think. So I made a point of watching both of them on iPlayer, and I was amazed. 66 series.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Are they all still on there?
They're not all on there because I think iPlayer's only for 1 year, I think, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
But when I back watched the most recent ones, and it's good. You have to take your hat off to him. And he's got legends on there. He's got up and coming artists. He's got established artists. It's a good mix. He's always engaging with them. He's always talking.
Yeah.
It isn't just music. If you've got people. I think was it Beverly Knight was on this week, and she was doing a show back in her hometown of Wolverhampton. So we were talking about theatre and stuff. So it was really good. It's really worth going back and watching on the iPlayer.
I think I should.
If you don't catch it.
Although I got quite upset when I realised how naive was I. That it's a few years ago now. That the Christmas, the New Year's one, the Hootenanny, was not on New Year's Eve. And it was filmed like at least 2 or 3 weeks before.
Well, they make the point of
that they
now,
do now. But back in those days, it was a bit sort of.
Well, the reason I mention it, 66 series.
Well, yeah.
If you really look across, all of I know the kind of how you consume TV is very different. It's not just 4 channels anymore, or not just 3 channels.
No.
But there's not another music show anywhere where you can catch live bands. If you think you used to have
used to be the Old Grey Whistle Test when I was growing up,
and then the Tube and Word.
The Tube was great. The Tube was brilliant.
You had the thing with Chris Evans, TFI Friday.
Yeah.
That always had live bands on.
Yeah.
I don't. Is there anything? A lot. I don't know if there's another regular TV show with live performances anymore. And you used to have kids TV. You used to have mainstream bands on kids' TV on a Saturday morning.
And the thing about the BBC, although I am slightly critical of the BBC at some things, but I actually think the fact that is such a positive, the fact that the BBC can afford to still put shows like that out, because you know, I mean, I don't want to get into the BBC's going to have to change, and actually I went to a talk. Was it last year or the year before, and it was a guy who used to work for the BBC, fairly high up, and he said exactly the same thing that I asked. We were able to ask the question on the Q&A, and I said, you know, where do you think the BBC is going to be? He said, well, whatever happens, it's got to change, and it has got to change. The licence fee has to go, because you need other. I mean, I'm not against paying for the service because you pay for Netflix or whatever else, but you know, the BBC can't afford the sort of programming that Netflix, Sky TV, and people like that do now, because of the way that things are structured. So it has to change. They have to come up with a better model, a new model, really.
And the BBC still does Glastonbury, which is obviously coming up.
Yeah, actually, and I've always, I mean, never having been to Glastonbury, but somebody's going on the Sunday.
Yeah, one day.
I do want to go at some point. So if you get free tickets next year,
they weren't free. They weren't free.
You had to pay for them.
Yeah,
all right, I thought they were free.
No. It's tickets go on sale for Sunday tickets only for local residents. So I'm not sure.
I don't know if I mean, some people say that I'm in the catch, but you say I'm not. I mean, I don't know whether this is.
You might be a bit far out.
Yeah, I thought so. But anyway.
I don't know. But yeah, my first time, so that'd be good. There's quite a good lineup throughout the day, so we'll do more of that as we get there.
Yeah, we will. Although there's Rod Stewart, so we will.
Ronnie Wood's playing with him. I saw in the news yesterday.
I've always rated Ronnie Wood. Anyway, so
yes. What have you been up to?
So that was it. Was it? Right.
I went on a bit about quite a dull week. But.
Right. Well, I've been busy. So I have spent some time with the Yamaha Seat Track, trying to get my head back into that, and I had to relearn it. It's not here; it's next door, because it was in the house.
Okay.
So I have been doing some more tutorials on that and trying to get it in my head, really. You know,
you've got to be able to do it intrinsically, haven't you?
Yeah. And I want to play a gig with it at some point, but not. It won't be yet. I need to really get my head around it and spend much more, and actually start writing tracks with it. I'm still messing around, learning bits of it. And to be fair, I did that 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then I've forgotten half the things that I remembered because other things got in my head. I've gone back into playing guitar. I've been sat watching some TV because Jane's been away for I haven't played much guitar.
You're getting sores on you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So the last few nights when I've been sat watching TV, and because I've been watching stuff on Channel 4 actually, and can't whiz through the adverts because I stream TV now. I don't have any boxes or anything. I would play through the adverts, you know, or play through bits of the shows I was watching that weren't that interesting, rather than, you know, and just getting back into playing some songs as well. They're not necessarily my songs, but just some cover songs, because I've not really played guitar that much, and I actually want to write some more songs on guitar. But yeah, I need to harden. But calluses of my fingers are soft these days, so I need to work on that.
Well, that's good. Yeah, you need to.
Exactly. I was meant to go to the Clinker Club last Saturday, which is a sort of experimental night, which I may be playing in November, and I chickened out. Actually, I didn't chicken out as such. You wouldn't go with me. Jane wouldn't go with me. I'd have gone on my own, which I'm happy to go to a gig on my own, but I just thought, I can't be asked. And then we sat and watched the movie. We sat and watched the rather terrible Indiana Jones movie, the last one, which was terrible. It was too long. It's 2.5 hours. Right. It was. Don't recommend it. That is not a recommendation. What else have we been doing? But I did go to see Daisy Rickman, who I knew nothing about, play at the what's it called? The Lucky Chance. Yep. Lucky Chance Theatre. This came out of I met with Jonah from. There's another record label in Frome. Surprise, surprise. Jonah and Henry, I think it is, who run Ill Records. So they've put this night on, and tickets were not cheap. It was 18 quid for somebody that I had no idea who they were. The support was a local girl called Izzy Yardley, who I really quite liked, actually. Singer-songwriter type, good voice, really good guitarist, very personal with the audience. And then Daisy Rickman, who I have to say I wasn't sold. She's Cornish. She was with the band. The band were really good musicians, quite experimental at times, which I did like. They came out and played all their instruments with bows at the start, made drones. But it was a bit stoner rock for me, if I'm honest, which is not my sort of thing. It was very well received, and some people give it a standing ovation. So it wasn't, it was rubbish. It wasn't rubbish. It just wasn't for me, really. Right. But I say tickets are a bit pricey at 18 quid to see somebody that you have never heard of. And actually, the guy I was sat next to, a guy called Robin, I was chatting to, he'd not heard of her either.
But I think she's playing nationally. Well,
I think she is,
whether it's locally. But I was in Bath the other day and I saw a poster, Daisy Rickman. It just caught my eye because I was going to come with you.
Yeah.
The circumstances changed. But how many were there?
I think the venue would probably, because it was in the main theatre room. There's a bar and a theatre room. I played in the bar when I played the Beatsport Beats back in February. But this was in the main room. I think there's about 70 people there, because there was rows of 15 thereabouts, and it was sold out, but it wasn't quite full. I don't think there was a few chairs, and interestingly, a guy sat one side of me, left after about 3 songs, and a guy in front of me left as well and didn't come back, which surprised me. I mean, obviously people went to the loo and that, well, because people do when gigs are on and came back, but they didn't. Maybe he just wasn't there.
Maybe they were supporting the local artist predominantly. Is he?
Maybe
she's from Fulham, right?
Yeah, she is.
So maybe they were supporting her, and who knows? People have got busy lives. Could have been that.
It could have been that. Yeah. So it didn't. It didn't resonate with me, and it didn't resonate with some people. I would say, really.
But only because it's not your cup of tea.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good gig. Yeah.
Good place to play as well. Right. Sorry, I'm just going to switch this on because I meant to switch this on earlier. So what else have I done? Did work on the next Audiophile Radio Show, which will, by the time you get to see this is Friday. This will be out on Monday. It'll be out. The Audiophile Show will be out on Sunday, so you can listen to it now. It'll be on Podbean and all your normal podcast places, and I've given it over to the EMOM festival that we went to, or one of the stages. I picked the basement stage, so it was 8 hours of music, wasn't it? 8 hours of music that I have cut down to 2 hours 20. So we've got a track from everybody who played on that stage.
Very good.
Took me all of yesterday, actually, but actually I've listened to half of it already, and it sounds great, actually. You get a flavour from everybody. I've tried to keep it to sort of no more than, say, 7 minutes each. To be fair, I didn't time it as such. I just picked a song, or I picked a bit of a song. But it'll give you a real feel for it, because there's all the bits in between of people introducing them. And the
video they've put out for the downstairs, that was...
that's it.
I want to say professionally shot, because I think there was overhead cameras that was left and right.
Lee Greatex, I think I might have got his name wrong there, but right. He runs the EMOM Streams YouTube channel, which is
really well done.
He does all of the EMOMs. He wants to come. He's talking about coming down and doing one for us if we ever get a venue for an EMOM. But a great guy, and I've not met him personally, but I've spoken to him online. He did a great job, because obviously he was.
It looks very impressive. It looks really suits.
So
the sound.
And in fact, I've put the link in that podcast, or the radio show. I've put the link to go and watch the whole thing.
Oh, cool.
So people can. And it was really. We said last week it was a really great event. What else have I done? Yeah, and next month, because our stage hasn't been released yet, but for next month I'm going to do the same again.
Similar compilation.
So for July, you'll get to see a compilation of everybody who played on the it was called the ambient stage, but it wasn't just ambient. It was more. There was all sorts of stuff going on, wasn't there? I've been asked to give a talk on digital distribution for composers by an organisation in Scotland. That'll be in September, I think.
Right.
It's paid as well. Not much, but it's a little bit of money. I need to put it together. And I had a meeting online with Dave Serchek, who runs a very similar record label in Colorado called SXSW Recordings. And we basically got together, and Dave has been very supportive of us in this records because he's bought a t-shirt, he's bought stuff from us. He bought some when we first started doing CDs. He bought them, and vice versa. I've done the same, you know. So we were getting together to just discuss how we can help each other from a label point of view, and part of that may be that we help with digital distribution for him. We certainly will be looking at sort of him sending some CDs for me to sell over here and me to do the same for him. So we're trying to work together.
Exchange ideas.
He's also he came up with the idea of actually us doing maybe a monthly, which you would be involved in if you're around, or it would be online, so you might be able to come in if you're away to actually do a video type show. Now, he's going to work on that.
It'd be in the evening if he's in the US anyway, right?
Yeah,
so.
it would be. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, bless him. He was 7 o'clock in the morning when we had a meeting. He picked the time. Right. It was 2 o'clock for me in the afternoon, which was fine. I'd had lunch, but poor old Dave, he said, "No, I let you get up early." So yeah, no, that was really useful. Actually, we've talked about doing it for a while. So in fact, go check out. That's a recommendation to come later. Go check out SXSW Recordings. His label is great. He's got some really good compilations on there, and his own music is really excellent. In fact, I've bought his album, several of his albums.
You share a link, will you? Yeah.
I will. I'll put a link in.
Very good.
Down below. That's probably it, I think. But just before we get onto the main topic, I've got a side topic, which is the fact that from Monday we've got South by Southwest London starting, which it's obviously quite a big thing in the UK, although I have asked them, because I asked them if I could review it, and then I've been back in contact with the press office again this week, twice, and they still don't reply, which I think is slightly...
I'm just going to bring it up while you're talking.
Slightly off, if I'm honest. Now, South by Southwest is normally in America, and it's I mean, I've never been, but I think we said the same thing last week. It's about grassroots music, a lot of it, or up and coming artists. So, just some stats. So, I don't know how many acts they've got on. It's not just music.
500 plus.
500, is that what it says? 500 plus music gigs, right, across London. Lots of things in trendy places like Shoreditch and all that. So 500 acts. I don't know whether it's pay to play, whether they actually pay to submit. I do know there are 84 judges on the music panel judging the acts that are there. There was only 2. I looked through a list of acts. I can't look through all 500, but I looked through a lot. Girl from York was really, really good. He's playing. Beth somebody. I'll put her name up because it escapes me. I'm having a senior moment. And the only other one I did know was Mabel. Do you know Mabel? Mm. Mabel, she's had hit singles, hasn't she? She's Nina Cherry's daughter. So she's playing. Interestingly, Beth from York is getting a half an hour slot. Mabel gets an hour slot. So I'm not so sure about that anyway. And I did look at, you can look at the artists by genre. Nice to see there was some avant-garde and experimental stuff in there. There's 8 acts playing. only 3 were classed as ambient acts. Over 60 R&B acts. And there was quite a chunk of, I didn't count them, but quite a chunk of electronic acts. I'd probably say 30 or 40, and obviously rock and all the rest of it. So it's.
And you follow it online, can you? You must have a YouTube channel or something.
No, I don't think you can. You won't be able to see any of the gigs because they want you to pay £1,300 or whatever. No, it's slightly less.
You can buy. It does say here there's a music wristband pass for £99.
Oh, right, okay.
So you don't see the main stage, but you can see some of the other venues without. You get a wristband for £99. So that seems, if you're
online or is
you're in the city, then
you've got to be in London,
yeah.
Right? Okay.
If you're in the city and you want to take in some of those gigs, that doesn't seem
you probably
that bad.
can pay on the door as well for some of them. I guess really
Doesn't seem bad.
Then I was sent an email about the partners and sponsors, so I thought I'll have a look at that. Right, interesting to know who the main sponsors are for the venue. So the festival. So is it a festival? Is it a conference? Is it a festival? It's a bit of both really. There's also some video stuff as well. So you've got a conference thing going on as well, which is obviously for industry. You've got Bellwethers, which is a climate change non-profit, which seemed fine as a sponsor. Canva, who are an online design company.
I use Canva.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's free. The free version of it is pretty good.
Yeah.
I've got them up here. Converse, Polestar.
The Converse trainers, which I think is part of Nike now, actually. I'm a guy who wore Converse since I was 17, when they were £15 a pair. £85 a pair for a pair of Converse is a bit much, but that's another story. The Department of Business and Trade, so they're spending taxpayers' money supporting it, which I don't mind, I suppose, really. Although that could be slightly...
It's a very important industry for the UK.
Yeah, it is really. Sky Glass TV is one of them. Polestar, Scandinavian electronic car company, right?
That was a branch out of Volvo. So it was a spin-off from Volvo. I like them.
Okay.
I'm an electronic car fan. So.
Yeah, you are. Supercell were a Finnish games company. Makes sort of sense because they've got there's a game element to some of it, and certainly there's the composer thing, really. And then the one I thought which might be controversial, which is Sadhu House. Now, Sadhu House, I thought it was Saudi Arabia. It's not Saudi Arabia. It's Kuwait, but it's part of the. I've got some notes here. It is part of the Kuwaiti government, right? But let's face it, Kuwaiti faces criticism on human rights. So clearly not as bad as Saudi Arabia, but it just felt a bit off for them to take the money. I don't know how you feel about that.
I think looking at that, there's a good cross section, right?
Yeah. There are 50 other sponsors.
Yeah.
Including Sony Music Publishing.
Right.
That's the only sort of music company I could see, really. But anyway, so
yeah, I'm just
you're just looking now. So
well, let's check in on it through the week.
Yeah, we can't clearly go because it's too expensive. But
you've got to be able to follow it online.
Well, maybe I'll certainly get some emails. I mean, I'm being bombarded with emails from them saying, "Buy your ticket now, buy your ticket now," which is not going to happen. And lastly, before we get to the main topic, did you know about Gazelle Twin cancelling a gig at the King's Palace in London? It was last week, not this week, just gone. Now, if you don't know who Gazelle Twin is, she's Elizabeth Bernhardt. It's a real name. She's a fantastic artist. Check her out. Very experimental. She's got an album out called Black Dog, which was the last album, which has been also, there's another version of it done by other people as well. She's brilliant. I mean, I saw her last year for £15, and she was amazing, absolutely amazing. As part of, it was the night of...
Is it Shadow Dogs? Shadow Dogs.
Shadow Dogs is the other album, yeah. She is fantastic. I mean, she's an acquired taste, really, but she's, for me, the real deal in terms of experimental music today, really, or one of them. Definitely worth a look. Check her out, really. But she's cancelled this gig at the King's Palace in London. I don't know the King's Palace in London. She cancelled it on May the 23rd, and everybody's been refunded, but she cancelled it because the venue is holding an arms industry conference in October. And good on her, and other artists are doing the same sort of thing, I believe, because we shouldn't be holding arms trade conferences in the UK.
That's today the gig was scheduled for.
Was it? Yeah, right. And so thumbs up to Gazelle Twin and other artists for making the point that, you know, that the arms industry is something we probably shouldn't be in. Anyway, that was it.
It's still being advertised, interestingly.
But
I did see the. Yeah, it's still on.
She because I follow her on social media. She apologised to her audience, basically saying that and giving the reasons why. It's quite a long. It was on Instagram. Quite a long message saying this is the reason why. You know, I have been trying to convince the King's Palace to actually not host this arms conference, and they clearly.
It does say cancelled online now.
Yeah, so. But I mean, she's great, really. So check her out. I think what we'll do is we'll turn this into 2 parts. So we'll make this the end of part 1, and you'll be able to see part 2 later on in the week. So bye for now, and we'll see you later.
Makes sense.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.